Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Lone Oak Farm. We are halfway through winter, it's the day after our big sell-off, and we've raised quite a bit of cash. So I've been spending the morning kind of catching up on some paperwork and keeping an eye on my financials, and also planning out what I'm going to be trying to do over the rest of winter in terms of land opportunities as well. It actually looks outside, if we just take a wander over to the window, you see it looks really nice outside. It's a nice bright sunny day. A few clouds in the sky, but a glorious looking day nonetheless. But it's not a warm day. Despite it having such a lovely sort of conditions outside, it's still -1 degrees ground temperature and 0 outside. So it is very cold. But we are getting some stuff done. So let me just kind of bring you up to date with exactly where we are right now. So first off, if we take a look at the markets, you can see that the prices, quite a few of them are in decline, but there are a few that are kind of stabilised and ready. And the ones that we sold yesterday were barley, were canola and corn. They were the big sort of sales that we made yesterday, not counting the silage bales. And you can see that all those prices are at the moment substantially lower than what we sold for. So they've kind of held true to what we were kind of thinking would be the case, that canola would take a dip at midnight, which it has done. You can see the Lone Wolf grain price is stable, and it is a green price, but it's $12.80, and we sold for over $13.00 yesterday. So that's definitely taken a bit of a dip. The barley prices, as you can see, one of them's in decline right now. The other one is still stable, but they are lower than the prices we were quoted yesterday. And corn has taken quite a big drop down from over $900 to $8.15 at Agri-XJS, and below that even more at Lone Wolf Grain. So again, if we just take a quick look at the predicted prices, you can see here that barley has taken that step down that we kind of thought it would do, and it turned out that day 3 was the best day for us to sell. So I'm kind of glad I gambled and waited till day 3 for the barley. The canola was a bit more clear cut, but again you can see it's now into that decline period. And corn, well, the predictions held true in terms of the step. We had that big spike yesterday where it jumped up and then it's dropped down again today, and that has rung true. Even if the predicted price that's being shown is not accurate, the actual step in price that we saw was what we were expecting to see, and that has happened. So we definitely made the right decision when it came to selling all 3 of those grains on day 3. We maximised the amount of money we could get for them, and that has really improved our financial situation quite a lot. And this is our current financial situation here. So you can see that we are currently sitting with a debt of just $105,000. We are in a really healthy position right now, which is fantastic to see. So this gives me, some real flexibility for how we progress the farm forward into year 2. Now, we still have, if you look in our storage, we still have 247,000 litres of soybean to sell, and we're expecting that to raise around about 500,000, maybe even more, when we come to sell that next summer. So that's the money that I'm kind of earmarking aside for the main tranches of land that I want to purchase. So I've made some initial inquiries with the field owners that I'm interested in. So I'm looking at fields 51, 52, 53, 54 and 50. Now those are the fields that I was looking at, and the combined total of those fields actually comes in at just under 500,000. So our soybean money has kind of been earmarked to pay for those fields there. Now fields 51 and 53 are owned by Natalie Johnson, and the combined price that she's wanting for her 2 fields is around about $192,500. Fields 52, this tiny little grass field just here, and field 54 are owned by Abel Nelson, and he wants just under $100,000 for the pair of those. This field here, this is the one I'm hoping, if we can actually get this from Abel, is to actually turn into a small orchard. So this is why we bought that small little trailer from Joskin, that small water trailer, so it can come down here. And then on top of that, we also want field 50. This is owned by Alex Young, and he wants $230,000 for this field here. That's a big field, but the combined total of all 3 of those comes in at around about 500,000. So that's our soybean money kind of pre-allocated against those fields there. So we will end up going into debt to buy those fields, but we'll be able to hopefully reclaim that money in the summer and maybe even make a little bit of profit on top of that as well. Now, with our farm, I don't really want us to go over $500,000 of debt. I want to keep it at a controlled level, so one, we don't get hit with massive loan costs every night, and two, if I need to, and we have a sudden financial issue that needs spare cash, we will have money to go to. So that effectively leads us, if we negate the cost of those fields that I want to buy against the soybeans, that effectively leaves us with around about $400,000 or so to play about with. Now, we're bringing in cows in the summer, and I'm kind of allocating up to $200,000, give or take, in terms of cows. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but that's kind of the amount of money I want to allocate, pre-allocate towards bringing in our cows in the summer. On top of that, we also need to allocate a bit of money aside for our potential orchard on field 52, and I think maybe about $100,000 or so should just about cover the costs of our orchard. So that leaves us with around about $100,000 or so left to play about with. And I've been doing a little bit of thinking and a little bit of looking around, and I think these two fields here, we should probably be able to get the pair of these fields here for around about $100,000 or so. So this is something that has come to me sort of overnight. I hadn't initially planned on adding in more fields other than the ones I'd already indicated, but I think those two there would be perfect additions to our farm, because we wanted to get into loose chaffing for silage next year rather than relying on bale wrapping. And I think these two are perfectly located by the BGA for us to be able to do some really good corn chaffing work, because we were doing corn on these two fields here, and while they were going back to our farm just here, that's not too far of a journey. If we were to take the corn chaff from these fields, it'd have to come along to our main sort of access road here, all the way out to the main road here, along, up and into the BGA, and then be unloaded into the BGA, and then go all the way back. And it's a long journey every single time you hit, say 60,000 litres of chaff. It's a lot to move. So I think what would be better would be to have two fields like this in very close proximity to the BGA, where we can literally just drive around the corner and we're at the BGA, and it will really reduce the amount of travel time and turnover time between each sort of trailer load of chaff into the BGA and back onto the field again. It would be a lot better for us in the long run. So we're going to make some inquiries about adding fields 5 and 6 in there as well. I need to find out who owns those fields, see how much they're asking for them. I'm hoping 100,000 will get both of those two fields, but it may be we can only get one, in which case we'll probably just go with field 6. But if I can find a way to get field 5 as well, or if it's a little bit over 100,000 and we have to go a little bit further into debt, then I will consider that. But that's kind of the plan of action for our land expansion. So the next couple of days is going to be us negotiating land deals to try and get ownership of these fields, and then we can start planning what crops we're going to plant on each field at the start of next year. We just make our way outside. If we pop around the corner, you can see here is our new equipment from Joskin, freshly delivered this morning. As you can see, it is just before midday now. This turned up early this morning, so you can see here is our cubic liner, 32,000 litre water trailer here. This is going to be for the main farm here for our cows. We've got our Betimax animal trailer again for here at the main farm. This liquid trans is potentially for our orchard, if we do get the orchard up and running, and same again with this Joskin Trans Kit KTP trailer. You can see here with the Hardox, just to give it a little bit more protection against the elements. This is going to be used to run manure back and forth to the orchard over there if we get an orchard up and running. So that's our brand new equipment. I need to figure out exactly where to store it. These two will definitely be stored here at the farm, and then these two will be probably temporarily stored here at the farm, and then at some point later moved down to the orchard once we get that kind of up and running. So there's our new equipment. But what we're going to do first, before we go off and start doing land deals, is we're going to make our way over to the sheep, and we're going to get rid of some old equipment. So we have the Arcusin 3-bale stacker, which we haven't used at all, and I thought it might be useful, but we just haven't needed it. We haven't used it, and we also have no home at the moment for our Bandit trailer. We had to use the bay we were storing it in for our combine header. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go drop this off at the sheep farm, take the Arcusin stacker over to Manning's, sell that at Manning's, and then this will probably end up living at the sheep farm, because we're probably going to need it there more than anywhere else, with the pallets and the ability to come and collect bales from here if we need to. So I think that's probably going to be the best place for it. So let's get our truck out and turned around. We'll get hooked up to the trailer. Let's just close the garage down. There we go. And let's make our way over to the sheep farm to go and collect the Arkisin stacker, and then take that over to Manning's. And here we are at the sheep farm. So a nice casual drive to bring our trailer over here. It's quite bouncy on the way in. Have to be careful when we're bringing the stacker out through here. Although I may actually just take the Challenger, sorry, not the Challenger, sorry, the Case 1455 over to the store, because I don't think it can be attached to the back. It might be. I might be able to attach it to the back of my truck. I'm honestly not sure. And it would say he was having to take the trailer back out and then bring it back in again on the back of the trailer. So you can see it's actually starting to warm up a little bit. It's now 2 degrees. So the sun being out is definitely starting to warm things up a little bit. Oh, there's a bit of mess in there. I suppose we better tidy that up. Now, I've been told that I shouldn't really be leaving this this bucket way up in the air like this in case the hydraulics fail and it comes crashing down on my head. And apparently there is enough clearance when the bucket is down for the door to open. Sometimes it's hard to tell the perspective of things, but yeah, I suppose, yeah, there is enough space. It just means it's a bit of an awkward clamber in, I suppose. But yeah. We'll stop leaving that way up in the air for safety reasons. Well, let's get our grass all tidied up here. Our health of our sheep is actually recovering quite nicely. They're back over 80% now. So the damage that we did by forgetting to feed them has kind of repaired itself a bit, which is great to see. They are rebounding very, very quickly and very strongly, which is important. And again, you can see, look, we have controlled sheep. We don't have sheep doing springboard routines getting in and out of here, so that's great to see as part of that 1.3 update. Get that little bit of grass there as well. There we go. Top the trough up a little bit more. And we'll park this in its usual little corner. There we go. So yeah, let's just take the 1455 out for a drive. We don't use this all that often. Usually when we need a little bit of extra help at the main farm, and we need a pressure washer. Actually, I've just realised we don't have a cleaner, a washing facility over here. So that's something we better invest in. Where can we stick that? That's going to be out of the way. Next to the fuel tank, I think, might be a good place. So we'll pick one of those up from Sam while we're there. We'll throw it at the back of the tractor. And let's get this over to Manning's, and we'll go sell our little 3-bale stacker. Hopefully we'll get a decent little bit of cash for this. I love the noise of this 1455. Some people have asked me, why did I keep this? I wanted to have a small, not too powerful tractor here at the main sort of sheep farm, because I figured we would need a vehicle of some kind over here. Plus, I figured if it's going to be used infrequently, which is the case with this particular tractor, why would we invest in a big expensive tractor that's going to sit there and do nothing for a long time? And I kind of wanted to keep that old school kind of feel a little bit as well. which is why I wanted to keep the 1455. I suppose we could have thrown in a Puma down there, but I like these 1455s, so it just made sense for us to keep it. So as we swing around the back here, just drop it off here. There we go. It's a shame we've never used that, really. I mean, it had the potential to be something that was quite useful, but it just became a little bit unnecessary in the end with the auto-load trailer. So let's see how much Sam will give us for it. Let's pop in and have a chat. Okay, so you can see that Sam paid us around 17,500 for that, and we still need to pay for our pressure washer. But let's see where we want to install this. Are we going to be able to get close enough here? Not quite, but we can put it here on the corner, where it's kind of out of the way, a little unobtrusive. Try and get as close to the fence as we can. Perfect. There we go. So now we can actually clean off, finally, our 1455, which is a bit dirty, as you can see. That's certainly taken a bit of a battering this year. Put in a lot more hours on this thing than I was expecting to. Helping us out with the grass work, primarily, and then the occasional sort of little trip here and there with some other bits and bobs as well. So there we go, nice and clean, absolutely beautiful. It is a gorgeous tractor, the 1455. So now I need to figure out exactly where this trailer is going to go. And I think probably the repair bay might be the best place for it, although there isn't a lot of space. I think what I'll do is I'll leave it here. It is a sort of a multi-purpose all-weather trailer. So I think as long as we are careful with it, we can afford to actually leave it there, and it won't be too damaged by the elements. The weather isn't too bad in this part of Oregon. You know, we do get some interesting kind of changes in temperature from time to time, but it should be okay there, I think. And we can always, if necessary, we can try and find a home for it inside here as well. So there we go. Job is done. So now it's time for us to go off and have some little negotiating. So we're going to go and see Abel Nelson first of all. So Abel lives, if I pull up the other map it's going to be easier. Abel Nelson lives near Field 16, so he lives just here. It's actually really close to us, as you can see. It's just over the road. This is where Abel lives, so we're going to go and have a chat with him, see if we can pick up both of those two fields that he has on offer, and hopefully a little bit later we will be the proud owner of a new good field for working land, and also a small little grass field that we can turn into an orchard. Make our way back out of here. So which is going to be the best way? We're going to need to go left, aren't we? And then take the next right. And that is how we get to Abel. There's another house just straight opposite us. But that is not who we need to see. Not sure who lives there, actually. But this is Abel's house. Nice and close. Nice and handy for us. So yeah, we'll pop in, we'll have a chat with Abel and see if he's willing to sell that land to us. His truck's home, so he is home, that's good. He did say he should be home sometime after midday. So we'll just park around the side here. And let's go and have a chat. Alright. Right, we are now the proud owners of fields 52 down here and field 54. Now there is actually some canola on here already, as you can see. It's been planted as a winter crop. So we have a choice. We could wait for that to harvest, or we could cultivate that through in the spring. I think we're probably going to plough the field, cultivate that into the ground, and gain a stage of fertilizer instead, rather than actually letting that crop grow. It depends exactly what we want to do with our crops, but we have now acquired, as you can see, fields 52 and 54. So the important thing is now we can kind of start planning out where we want our orchard to be. You can see there's our lawyer's car. He's been over to finalise all the paperwork, cross the I's, dot the T's. He'll be disappearing in just a second. But it's time for us, I think, to head back to our farm and just inspect field 52, that small little grass meadow, because that is what we want to turn into an orchard. So I will see you back at the farm. And here we are driving alongside our new field. So you can see this is where we currently stand in terms of growth stage on the canola, but it's going to take a long time for the ground to warm up in the spring, I think, for this to then start growing again. So I think we're going to be better off just ploughing this field out. We'll get a stage of fertilizer for most of it, obviously not the very border, because we'll be ploughing in a crop. So we will get kind of stage 1 fertilization on this field for free, which is always going to be good. This is field 53. I think that's got the same thing. Or has that got wheat? That might be wheat that's planted on that field there. That's another field that we're going to be trying to acquire. We'll be in negotiation with Natalie for fields 51 and 53 tomorrow. So this is field 53. 51 is the other side of our little meadow, which we're just driving up to. But here is field 52, the second piece of land that we acquired today from Abel Nelson. So both of these two fields that we bought from him, 52 and 54, came to a combined total of $97,200. He wanted $87,100 for field 54, and then the rest was the cost of our little meadow just here. So if I just stop here, you can see we've got a nice decent kind of length. It's a nice narrow kind of width. I think this is perfect for an orchard. I think we can get a few rows of trees running down here. I don't think we'll necessarily get the whole thing up and running in one go, because the trees are going to end up being quite expensive to fill this place. But I certainly think we can start planning out how we want to lay the trees out, what kind of width we want them to be apart, make sure we've got enough space for turning at either end of the field, as you can see. And we also need to construct a building of some kind up over here as well, a little storage building. And I'm thinking this wall here, along this fence here, I think this is where we'll store. So we'll have our entranceway coming in, and then I think just over here we'll have a little storage building where we can store manure, and where we can also maybe store the manure trailer and also the water trailer as well, in this sort of corner area over here. So we'll need to get in touch with a local building company and arrange for them to come out and do a quick survey of the land, see what they think is going to work in terms of positioning of a building, make sure the ground is suitable to be built on as well. That's the other most important aspect, that we're not building on unsuitable land. And we'll get that little sort of shelter erected, and once that's done we can then start getting our trees installed as well. So I think today has been a very short day, but a very reasonably effective day. We've made a little bit of extra cash selling off that bale stacker that we didn't need. We've also acquired 2 new pieces of land, and we've made some initial inquiries with Natalie. We've got a meeting with her first thing in the morning tomorrow for the next 2 fields as well. The only person who is a bit hard to nail down at the moment is Alex, who is selling field 50, the really big field just on the other side of the lone oak over there. That's the field I really want. That's going to be my main soybean field next year, but he's a bit non-committal at the moment. He's a bit hard to pin down for a meeting, so I don't know if we'll be able to get hold of him tomorrow or not. We'll keep our fingers crossed, but hopefully we'll be able to. So I'm going to sort of finish off the day here by deciding where I'm going to park all my new equipment, figure out where it's all going to live, and then we'll be sort of back on the road again tomorrow with the lawyer and trying to acquire another couple of bits of land. So I will see you in the morning. What a miserable start to the day we have. It's colder than it was yesterday, and it is snowing as well, and it's pretty dark, as you can see as well. We can't see very clearly. You know, there's a bit of fog, dark skies. Definitely going to need to be a bit more alert for traffic. Just about see down the road there's nothing coming. But yes, we are on our way to go and see Natalie this morning to try and gain ownership of fields 51 and 53, and she actually lives very, very close by. In fact, this is her turn-off. You can see we've got some tyre tracks, so it looks as though our lawyer has arrived ahead of us this morning. We had to wait for him yesterday, but it looks as though he's beaten us to it today. We make our way around this kind of twisty, windy track. Oh, yep, there is his car. I recognise that. That's my lawyer's Mustang. I might have to invest in a Mustang of my own, depending on how well we do next year. So, left my lights on. Do not want a flat battery. There we go. So let's pop in and let's have a chat with Natalie. So, a successful meeting with Natalie. We have taken ownership of fields 51 and 53 for a combined total of $192,000, $192,456. Field 51 cost us $92,000 and change, and field 53 cost us $100,000 and change. So, great, another successful meeting. That's taken us a couple of hours, but we thrashed all the details out, agreed the price, and signed the paperwork that needs to be signed. But unfortunately, as you can see, even though the snow has stopped, it did settle. So this could make conditions quite treacherous, especially with it being this cold. You can see it's starting to warm up a bit. It's now 2 degrees, but there is a risk that if the temperature drops again, that this rain combined with this sort of melting snow could freeze and create some very, very icy road conditions. So we're going to need to be very careful as we move around over the next day or two, depending on what happens with the weather and with the snow. I wonder if this snow is going to last for a long time. You can see we've actually got grass peeking through, the crops are showing through, so the snow isn't that deep. It didn't last that long. You know, we had a few hours of snow, maybe about 3-4 hours worth of snow in total, but it was enough to settle, which is perhaps, as I say, a little bit worrying. My lawyer has assured me that he is working hard to figure out who owns fields 5 and 6, and is also trying to track down Alex, who owns field 50 as well. So there's not really much more we can do at this stage until he finds out that information. We're going to make our way back to the farm and try and catch up with a bit more paperwork, and I think maybe even do a little bit of servicing work on our equipment, putting it through our workshop as well. So yeah, let's see how the rest of the afternoon goes. So we've brought the Puma into the garage. We're going to give this a nice good little service. Make sure it's in tip-top condition, ready for year 2. The rain has stopped already. As you can see, the sun is coming out. The skies are getting nice and bright and blue again. So it didn't last very long at all, which means this snow may actually possibly melt off throughout the afternoon. You can see the temperature's gone up to 3 degrees outside as well, although the ground temperature is still -1. So we still can't do any sort of groundwork, but we can spend the next hour or two just tinkering away with the case, giving it a nice little service here. You know, see if any components need switching out. We have got some spare parts upstairs, and obviously we've got, you know, some supplies down here as well, as you can see, and plenty of tools. So we're going to crack on with getting our Puma serviced, and then once we've done that, we'll turn our attention to the Magnum. So we finished servicing our Puma. This is all looking hunky-dory again. No real problems with this. You know, we're able to perform our diagnostics and just had to switch out a couple of small components, you know, new spark plugs, things like that. So everything is absolutely fine with the Puma, which is great to see. Now I was going to get started on the Magnum, but unfortunately we don't have time because I've just had a phone call from the lawyer. He's found out who owns those 2 fields that we were curious about, fields 5 and 6. And would you believe it, field 6, which is the larger of the 2 fields, is owned by Abel Nelson. So if only we'd asked him while he was there, while we were there, you know, buying the field from him the last time, we could have saved ourselves a little bit of heartache and maybe done the deal all at once, perhaps even have gotten a little bit of a discount as a result. But this is going to be a separate deal, so I doubt we're going to get a discount from him. But let's jump in. Let's make our way over to Abel's and purchase field 6. And it turns out as well that the guy who owns field 5, that small little field just north of the BGA, is Abel's neighbour James Harris, who only wants around 20,000 for that field. So we're going to call in on him next, once we've been to speak to Abel, and see if he'll be happy to sell that field to us. I mean, the initial conversation with the lawyer on the phone indicated that yes, he would be more than happy to make the sale. So it looks as though we are going to get those extra 2 fields that we were after as well, which is awesome news, especially seeing as we still have yet to be able to get hold of Alex, who owns field 1, Alex Young. So it's starting to look as though we might not get the really big field that I really wanted, but we have gained a nice extension of our land with fields 51, 52, 53, 54, and now we're going to be able to add in fields 5 and 6 as well. So we've made some pretty good progress with our land expansions. We've already got our equipment expansions out of the way, so field 50 would just be the icing on the cake now, but it could end up being a very expensive instead of icing on top of the cake. I get the feeling we're going to have to pay quite a bit of money for a field that size. So if we can get hold of him, we'll see how much he wants for it. But we've got to get hold of him. That's the thing. So I'll see you at Abel's. It's such a beautiful drive in this kind of weather. You know, it's potentially a little bit dangerous, but I mean, how pretty does it look? It really does look beautiful. Oh, almost missed the turning for Abel's there. Can't see it very well because of the snow. There we go. So once again, our lawyer should be meeting us here. And yep, there he is. He's parked up, look. So we'll park our truck just here, next to the lawyer. I am going to have to speak to him about maybe recommending a good Mustang dealership. I'm getting very envious looking at this car. I mean, look at that paint job. That's beautiful. That sort of black with the ghosted stripes down the middle there. Really do like that. Yeah, I think we may have to look into buying a Mustang of our own if we have a successful year. So let's pop in and see Nelson, Abel Nelson, and purchase those, that extra field. So the deal is done. Abel was more than happy to sell that field to us. It cost us $74,000, but we now have ownership of Field 6 as well, which is ideally located near the BGA, so that's going to be our corn chaffing field next year. I'm hopeful, that we'll be able to get Field 5 as well. The lawyer did say that Mr. Harris, who lives just next door, was very positive on the phone in discussion about potentially selling the field. Didn't want a large amount of money for it either, so we're going to go next door, and I have bent the arm of my lawyer a little bit. He's made a lot of money off me over the last couple of days in terms of his commission, so he's going to let me drive next door in his Mustang so I can get a feel for the car, see if it's something I might want to purchase for myself, later in the year. So let's take this baby for a spin. It's very snazzy in here, isn't it? Let's see just how well this thing performs. I mean, we've got to be really careful because this is an expensive car. But, look at the acceleration on this thing. This is rapid. Yeah, we need to be careful. We can't ding this. Yeah, so my lawyer's had enough money out of me over the last couple of days. I don't want to give him any more than is absolutely necessary. Oh, but look at the acceleration on this thing. That's insane. Yeah, I really do like this car. We may well have to buy one of these for ourselves. He's going to bring my truck around the corner. So you can see Mr. Harris is in. Let's park this just here, I think. Oh, what a car. Yes, I like this. we may well buy ourselves one of these. But let's pop in, see Mr. Harris, and sign the paperwork and dot the I's across the T's and so on and so forth for Field 5. And another successful deal has been done. And the snow has melted while we've been in there as well, working away on the deals. So we now own Field 5 as well. Only cost us $20,000. That's an absolute steal. And as I say, ideally situated close to the BGA. We're not going to get a huge amount of crop off there, but be able to chaff corn and deliver it so close to the BGA, it's an ideal field for us. So it made sense to try and acquire that, especially considering it was so cheap. So there we go, a successful day again of negotiating land deals. We've spent $289,000 or so on fields today and yesterday as well. Combined total of around $289,000. That's a lot of money, but the expansion is going to help us out immensely. So I'm kind of proud and pleased with the deals that we've done. We've paid fair prices. We haven't paid over the top. We haven't paid ridiculously low prices. The owners said what they wanted for the fields. There was a little bit of negotiating, but we settled on fair prices for those. And I'm very happy with the land that we've acquired. It would have been nice if we'd been able to acquire Field 1 as well. And I still, not Field 1, sorry, Field 50. And I still kind of hold out hope that we might be able to track down Alex and see if he is interested in selling that field. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So for now, I think we'll kind of just settle with what we've got and see where we go from here. So now I need to kind of figure out exactly what I want to plant on each of those fields. Next year. That's going to be, I think, the really important decision that we need to make. So we'll get back to the house. We'll fire up the computer and we'll take a look at our land and see what is going to go where. So here we are then, back in the office, on the side of our workshop, and you can see this is the total sort of map of the area with the fields that we now own. So 54, 53, 51, and our two new acquisitions up here, fields 5 and 6. These all need to be ploughed at the start of spring, so that's going to take quite a bit of time to get those done. But fields 5 and 6, that's going to have corn on for chaffing, so that's kind of predetermined exactly what's going to happen over there. Now, I'm disappointed we couldn't get hold of field 50. I mean, look at the size of this field. It's absolutely huge, and we could have got a great yield off that field. But as things stand, we have yet to be able to get hold of Mr. Young. So we can't make inquiries about that field yet. We don't have to worry about ploughing field 52 because we're turning that into an orchard. So that's taken care of. 51, 53 and 54 should all get done pretty quickly, with our help from our workers. They're all relatively straightforward shaped fields. And then in terms of what we're going to plant on our fields, I need to have a think about this. So we do need to be wary of the damage that some of those crops can do to the soil. So I'd like to plant some more canola again in the new year, but I can't plant them on field 34 because that soil has taken a hammering from that canola. So we need to switch up what's planted and where. So I think, actually no, it wasn't 34, was it? 34 was sunflowers, 43 was canola. So this field is going to need to be planted with something different. So I'm thinking that we put canola on these fields here. Don't forget, we ploughed together 32 and 33 at the start of winter. So that is now essentially one field. And then we've got this field here. So I think these two here would be perfect as canola fields. This field is going to need a break from canola, obviously. So I think if we go ahead and we put wheat on this field here, and then maybe barley on this field here, just rotate our crops a little bit, and they're decent sized fields, so we'll get decent yields off those. 44 is our grass field, that's going to stay grass. In terms of soybean, 49, 53 and 54, they are the three current fields that I'm planning on putting soybean on, and I may put soybean on 45 as well, because we don't have field 50. Now if we do acquire field 50, then things will change a little bit, but as things currently stand, this and this are going to be our soybean fields, which leaves us with field 51 down here, and then fields 30 and 35 here with nothing on. So I need to decide what I want to do with that. I think I'd quite like to put some more corn on one of our fields and actually get in some more corn to sell, because that actually made quite a bit of money for us last year, and it wasn't something I had intended on harvesting again this time around. It was kind of a last minute decision to harvest it the first time, but it performed quite well for us, so I'd like to get some more corn in as well. So I think if we put some corn here on field 51, that's a good sized field, I think. Good shape as well. We can get a decent amount of corn off that. It's comparable in size to 32 and 33 combined, and we got a good haul just on 32 alone last year. So 51 I think is going to be a great cornfield for us. And then these two fields, I don't know what to do with. We could possibly do some sunflowers on both of those fields. We got a nice little yield from sunflowers. So these are the only two I'm not really sure what to do with just yet. But I'm thinking canola in this block here. I could even maybe put canola on one of these fields, or both of these fields as well. I'm thinking wheat and barley on these two fields here, and then soybean on these four, and then corn here, and then obviously fields 5 and 6, that's corn that's going to be chaffed. So everything here at the farm is what we're going to harvest. That's, I think, how things are going to shake out. The only ones I'm unsure of at the moment are fields 30 and 35. I would like to maybe try and get some sunflowers in the ground if I can, but if not, we can always look at some other crops as well. So I think we'll get some really good yields from all of our crops off those fields there. It'll be interesting to see how we do it. The other option, of course, is we don't do sunflowers at all, and we get wheat on these two, and then barley on these two, or perhaps the other way around. That might be something that's worth looking at as well. So a little bit of thinking to do, and it all kind of changes potentially if we get field 50 as well, because that is definitely going to be a soybean field if we can acquire it. Just look at the size of it, it's massive. So yeah, it's a kind of a good rough plan as to where we're going to be in terms of our planting next year, but not set in stone. Like I said, it all depends on what happens with that extra field, if we can acquire that or not. It's going to be an expensive purchase, and I am wary of the fact that, of that kind of 200,000 or so that I allocated for cattle, I do still need to buy a mixer. So the money that I wanted to spend on that field, I might have to spend on a mixer, depending on the mixer that we end up plumping for. There's a few choices out there. It's a question of which one do we go with. I don't normally back this in, no, I normally drive it in forwards, which is why this could be a little tricky. I need to make sure I've got space to open the door. There we go. Excellent stuff. So we'll close that down. I think... Oops. Get caught on the door there. I think I'm going to go and spend the rest of the evening watching something on the big screen. I've left the garage door open. There we go. So I'm going to pop down here, and I am going to sit down and watch Jurassic World on my big screen down here. So that's it from me. That is another episode of Lone Oak done. Hopefully we'll have a new Geo when we come back for day 6 and we kind of finalise things off for the rest of the year and move into spring. If you are interested in watching Jurassic World along with me, then please do feel free to check out my Jurassic World Evolution playlist. It's a brand new series that's only been running for a few episodes now, but it is a cracking little series. I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I think you'll enjoy watching that as well. So please do check that out. Don't forget, you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter. Links are in the video description down below. And I will see you with another video very soon.